Hi, everybody. This is Chaya Parkar from the Jewish Experience in Denver, Colorado. And it is Friday, the 8th of October, 2021. On the Jewish calendar, it is the second of the month of Cheshvan in the year 5782. And this week, we are reading Parsha Noach, the story of Noah and the flood. And I wanted to share a few words of Torah with you today. My teacher, Esther Wien, who is the granddaughter of the great late sage Rabbi Shimon Schwab, teaches us and reminds us that the Torah is not here to just be a rule book so that we can follow certain rules, so we can make God happy, so that we can get our needs met. It's the total wrong paradigm. We don't have to make God happy. That's not what it's here for. The Torah is here as a set of principles and stories and guidance so that we can become the people who each of us can become the person who we can become, that we can really develop our entire potential. We can learn actually about the concept of influencing from this week's Parsha and next week's Parsha, and understand perhaps how the Jewish people are called the Or L'Goyim, the light into the nations. Really, the Jewish people are supposed to be influencers. Influencers these days on Instagram, on TikTok, right? We see these people, and really, truly, real influencers are people who develop themselves and then share it with others and inspire them to want to become like them. Hopefully, people are following influencers that are influencing them in the correct way. The Torah is the ultimate influencer guidebook, and the Jewish people have the opportunity to be the ultimate influencers of the world, and ultimately including everyone in humanity to become an influencer, not just the Jews. You don't have to be Jewish to be a good influencer. We learn from Parsha Noach that Noah was a righteous man. It says he was a righteous man in his generation. For the generation that he was in, he was righteous. And in fact, when God felt that he needed to destroy the world because people were just not living correctly, he saved Noah and instructed him to build an ark so that the animals, right, could stay and that would continue, and also people would. The problem is that Noah just basically followed directions. He wasn't a broad thinker. He didn't have imagination. He was righteous in his generation. But the next person we're going to learn about next week, spoiler alert, is Abraham, our forefather. Abraham was not just a person who did what God wanted, but Abraham was someone who had a vision and partnered with God. Abraham was a true influencer, and his wife, Sarah, was a true influencer, and we're going to be learning about them. And that's why it says that Noah was righteous for his generation, but had he been in Abraham's generation, he wouldn't be seen as someone righteous. Because greatness, to really be an influencer, you need to take, integrate, grow, and then share it with others. And that is what Abraham did. It says that Noah walked with God. It says that Abraham walked before God. Walking with God, he's just doing whatever God says. Walking before God is taking the messages that are in the Torah. It's taking the character development that we can gain in the Torah. It's taking the way that we're supposed to live and developing it so that it becomes who we are. And who are we really? We're extensions of God. That's what we are. And that's why it also says in Yirmiyahu, to know me is to know you. When you know me, I'm paraphrasing very succinctly, but essentially, in order to know ourselves so that we can develop and truly reach our potential, we should know God. And when we know God, we'll know ourselves. and to know God, we look to the Torah. We see how God develops himself, how God shows himself, how God interacts in the world. God's not a he, God's not a she. I'm using words that we can understand. But this energy, this creative force, the creator of everything, that there is no other, which means we are part of that. That when we know that, when we know God, we can know ourselves and thus integrate everything we learn and become that, and become the ultimate influencer for our families, for our communities, and for the entire world. We look to the Torah to learn about God. And when we learn about God, we learn about ourselves. And when we know ourselves, then we can truly be an influencer in any generation. Have a great Shabbos.